Hello.
Hello.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Frontier Indica podcast. Today we have a very special and I think well known guest in these corners, CRT, Caste Raita Takes, who runs a pretty popular Twitter handle as well as a well known Telegram channel, and he's also quite active on Instagram. And I think apart from the admin, I think there are also some other people who support him with this work. So please, I'm glad to have you, man. I'm glad to have this
Thanks for
conversation.
thanks for having me. Uh, it's my first time, so
Yeah, no.
so
I mean,
नहीं to
it's
audience to audience.
yeah,
मैं audience
yeah,
से
yeah,
बोल रहा हूँ.
yeah. We've spoken a lot.
ज़्यादा जज मत करिएगा अगर मैं थोड़ा अटक के बात करूँ. ये फर्स्ट टाइम मेरा किसी पॉडकास्ट पे है.
And that is what we were also discussing. It is the content which matters. मतलब इतना यहाँ पे no one is a rock star or something. So just be patient. I'm sure we'll all get to learn something at the end of the day. तो CRT bro, तो I think अभी what we can do is we can introduce the subject. तो we've decided कि हम लोग आज so the thing is mostly it's going to be in English, but बीच में it might also go into a little bit of Hindi or English. So I think that will be fine with most people. So I don't think that
Yes.
should be an issue. So whenever that can help with the with maintaining like a smooth rhythm to the whole conversation. So CRT and I will basically be talking about an issue which everyone knows is quite pervasive on this corner of the online right wing, the online Hindu right wing to be specific, which is caste kanging. मतलब सब कोई करता है. No one spares any effort on this front. But yeah, sometimes it's okay. It's not too annoying. Sometimes it's I guess even justified. But sometimes I think people do cross that boundary between what is acceptable and what is warranted and what goes into really pointless territory, and it just doesn't make any sense anymore, right? So we'll essentially, the topic is what should be reasonable limits to caste kanging, generally speaking online, right? So CRT, I'll take your input first. What do you think? मतलब कहाँ पे लोग थोड़ा ज़्यादा excessive हो जाते हैं?
See, most of the caste kanging जो है अभी अपने राइटोस्फीयर में, in this little corner of the internet, it majorly revolves around historical revisionism.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people have a desire for pride. They want
Yeah.
something to feel good about, and this and many communities have a lot to be proud about, no doubt. Many communities have a little, but there are some communities which have almost none of the history. They were not known for documenting their anything because one factor is lower literacy rate. Another is lack of achievements. But okay, when I say lack of achievements, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but lack of achievements that are not known yet, if I have to put it softly. So there's that thing. And when these communities have suddenly gained access to internet, and when they go through mass media, they see movies being made about historical biopics. They see movies being made about freedom fighters and Raja Maharajas and all that historical shit.
So they also want a part of that.
Yes. वहाँ से एक डिज़ायर स्टेम होता है और उसको क्वेल करने, तो वो एक मार्केट क्रिएट करता है. फिर इंटरनेट पे कुछ इन्फ्लुएंसर्स हैं एंड they desperately want an audience.
Yeah, so this is an easy way for them to.
Yeah. तो एक तरफ से डिमांड आती है और कुछ लोग जो हैं वो एक सप्लायर बन जाते हैं. So it's a very addicts and drug dealer kind of situation. And the drug here is क्या कहते हैं उसे अपना जो दिमाग में वो जो हार्मोन निकलता है क्या नाम है उसका सेरोटोनिन.
Yeah, I think serotonin, or I think any positive like dopamine, these kind of.
Yeah, dopamine. That's the thing. Dope. That's what is being peddled here. It's.
CRT, I just want to ask, do you think it's also driven a lot by local competition for status, especially in today's world when a lot of traditional hierarchies have been upended? So it's like a free-for-all. Everyone is trying to grab onto as much, street rep or caste rep in their area as they can.
Yes, there is certainly that plays a big part as well. See, they think, okay, these people do not have any control over polity today. These savant people who used to take us around, order us around, and now they have been outplayed by us. So why should we pay respect to them for anything at all? How do we know they fought in these medieval or ancient wars when they can't fight today? So there's a certain amount of disbelief that
we could have been so subdued by these people.
Yeah, because it doesn't match current reality as witnessed.
Right. Do you think right till now we've talked about from the other end, from the end of these castes which historically did not have a lot of claim to high status legends or mythology or even historical tales. So do you think on the other end of the spectrum also there is definitely a problem, like when you look at more dominant landed castes or like castes higher in the one hierarchy? Do you think there is also a problem there when they overreach, or do you think that's just a reaction?
See, the recent developments in Hindu right has been that there is a consensus that we have been too soft.
Savarnas. Or you're saying all Hindus in general?
Both in general and in particular. At large, Hindus think they have been pushed around by these Muslims and missionaries and lefties too much for too long, and then every caste in particular also thinks that they have been pushed by these landlords, these moneylenders, these priests for too long. So, and then there are landlords who think they have been pushed around by clerical caste for too long, and then there are clerical castes who think they have been pushed around by landlords for too long. So there is this दूसरे की थाली में घी ज्यादा दिखता है वाला एक फैक्टर है.
Okay, so you're basically making an interesting point. You're saying that it's not just about dominant caste versus non-dominant caste. It's also about a certain caste which may have been more martial versus caste which may have dominated in academic spheres, and different castes trying to lay claim to different fields as well, right? Where they may not have been seen as very strong, like not suited to that kind of work.
Yeah, just today a prominent Kshatriya handle on Twitter made this remark that this age is information age, and we too, Kshatriyas need to get into this information race. So there is a desire for. So there's a desire for, to be master of all, or jack of all trades, if we have to continue in this.
Right, and I think that's a universal desire, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're trying to achieve that, by bringing up your own people rather than if you're making up stories. I think that's the problem we are essentially trying to point to, right? That the problem essentially arises when you start making up stuff, not when you're trying to, like, let's say, start anew or achieve new things.
Yeah, see, for too long we have consumed this uh, propaganda that we Hindus are too soft and we get pushed around too much. We are ahimsa parmo dharma and vasudha kumbhakam type guys, and we or some may think that we have been too honorable for too long, and there is this chag pill trend that we need to take the chag pill and we need to assert ourselves, because the reason behind our failure is that we have not asserted ourselves. So there is a deep insecurity behind all this lark. All this lark stems from insecurity that if we do not put our claim forward, if we do not push ourselves, somebody is going to push us back. So it's about being loud and being loud and proud,
basically
as much
being
as possible.
one step ahead of the competition. Like before they can target your real history, you make up so many things that they have to spend time discrediting that, and then your actual history is secure. Maybe something like that.
Yes, there's something like that going around in mind, because the noble liar mentality among Hindus has become a lot more pervasive in the age of internet.
Yeah.
This is not something that was
it's
common
kind
in
of like the ends justify your means, basically, right? Like your ends justify the lies if you're...
Yes. It's narrativism, I prefer to call it.
Yeah.
So there is that factor, and
I think one example we were discussing, like overall, not caste specific, but the entire 24-40 trillion, whatever it is, thing that the British stole this much from us. And it's based on like just I think one kind of mostly shoddy study done by some JNU professor.
Usha Patnaik.
Usha Patnaik. Left wingers, centrists, right wingers, everyone has taken that as the gospel truth. And
see, one thing that I noticed, that Indians like to bark. Sorry, audience, if this looks like a harsh way to put it, but Indians like to bark at Britishers a lot because Brits are not here anymore. So you can bark all you like, because Brits are not going to bite back. And
there's no one to defend that end of the narrative.
Yeah, so सब एक दूसरे को धो सकते हैं, लेकिन ब्रिटिशर्स को कोई भी धो सकता है, बिकॉज इट्स ऑल वर्चुअल. इट्स नॉट लाइक वी आर गोइंग टू सेंड, और हमारी आर्मी किसी भी निकट भविष्य में यूके की सरहद पे पहुंचने नहीं वाली रिपरेशन कलेक्ट करने के लिए. ये तो हो नहीं रहा. तो और कोई पॉइंट क्या है इसका कि ये ब्रिटिशर्स ने हमारा लूटा. अरे ठीक है भाई, नहीं चलो, अगर मान लो सच भी ये बात, तो तुम ये कब तक रिपीट करोगे? अगर इफ यू वर रियली सीरियस अबाउट रिपरेशंस, तो आप कोई प्लान रखते कि भाई हम कैसे वसूली करने वाले ब्रिटिश. तो कोई प्लान, उषा पटनायक जी ने कोई प्लान बताया? आप नहीं, उषा पटनायक जी ने आपको एक नंबर तो बता दिया 45 ट्रिलियंस का, लेकिन कोई प्लान बताया कि भाई हम ऐसे कलेक्ट करने वाले हैं, ऐसे लोन की रिकवरी इस प्रकार की जाएगी? नहीं ना. तो ये क्या मतलब इस नंबर का, जो आप ये नंबर चिल्ला के घूम रहे हो? ये एक अपवर्ड का वीडियो था, काफी हास्यास्पद वीडियो था, जहाँ पे एक इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग का प्रोफेसर हिस्ट्री के बारे में आपको लेक्चर देता है कि हाउ ब्रिटिशर्स ने हमको कैसे लूटा, या फिर व्हाई दिस एंड दैट थ्योरी इज रॉन्ग. आई फॉरगॉट हिज नेम, प्रोफेसर वेद समथिंग, ऐसा कुछ नाम था. एंड
I'll try to search for the... Yeah, go on. I'll try to search and see if I can find that. So I don't get it. And when I think about it कि पॉइंट क्या, अगर हम रिपरेशन कलेक्ट नहीं करने वाले, तो मेरे को तो मैं तो इसी नतीजे पे पहुंचा कि
the point is to bark without cost, because
I think it was Dr. Raj Vedam, no?
yeah, Raj Vedam, yes.
Yeah.
That was a video.
Seemed
It
like
was
a
a
fairly senior gentleman, but don't think he made great points in that.
yes. He's not a history academic or a humanities academic.
Yeah.
His background is in engineering actually. वैसे
I mean, generally that shouldn't bar anyone from speaking on a subject, but yeah, that's true.
yeah, I'm not
He's
trying
not
to be
professionally trained, and
I'm not trying to be credentialist. Of course, एक engineer आके humanities में succeed कर सकता है. It's totally possible.
अब
But
लेफ्टिस्ट वगैरह पूरा इंजीनियरिंग और साइंस का सिलेबस बना सकते हैं, तो इतना तो छूट देनी पड़ेगी.
हाँ, ये not going to be credentialist, but even by एक इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर को ग्राफ पढ़ना आना चाहिए, and he makes a big mistake in reading the graph that he shows in that video. अभी क्योंकि ये अभी ऑडियो मीडियम है और मैं वो ग्राफ यहाँ पे डिमॉन्स्ट्रेट नहीं कर रहा, सो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू गो इन टेक्निकल डिटेल ऑफ दैट कि उस वीडियो में दिखाए गए ग्राफ में क्या प्रॉब्लम थी. सो आई एम गोइंग टू स्किप दैट पॉइंट, बट बेसिकली there was something deeply wrong with his analysis, and that analysis is not unique to him. It has been adopted by a lot of both nationalist and leftist intellectuals in India who like to rank against British. जब ब्रिटिश के खिलाफ बोलने की बात आती है, तो एक और बहुत बड़ा नाम आता है शशि थरूर का. he is known a lot for these anti-British spiel that he has to give, and people really love him for that, for his anti-colonial talking points. And what the funny thing is that Shashi Tharoor, while on screen, on stage, has this anti-colonialist stance. Behind the scenes, this guy was working in a UK-based think tank.
Yeah, he essentially comes from the same institutional framework, I mean, which is descended from, I guess, that colonial system.
Yeah, and that UK-based think tank was staffed with Pakistani members, British Pakistani members, and it was once headed by previous Prime Minister of Britain, Theresa May. So for all his anti-colonialism, this guy is hands in glove with British as we speak.
Yeah, he's happy to work with, I think, British conservatives, British leftists, British Islamists, anyone, I guess.
Yeah, he's got a good accent and all.
Yeah, I think that's another thing, like Indians, when they watch those kind of speeches by him, they feel that, okay, now the British will take us seriously because, someone is speaking like them and telling them our side of the story in a way that they would have to acknowledge our suffering and such. And I'm not saying that there was no suffering, there was no injustice or something. I'm just saying that, there comes a point when you are, blabbering random facts and figures which make no sense, and you kind of essentially end up looking like a fool to anyone who does the math, right? So,
see, I'm anti-imperialist myself, but it's not about numbers for me. It's not. We can be see, the moment you say, okay, this Usha Patnaik's research is shoddy, this Raj Vedam's video is unfounded, and when I tell them we should not concentrate on this route and that route, they think I'm being a British apologist. I'm being one of those trolls on internet who say that British Victorian rule was good for India.
Yeah, basically being a coconut, like brown on the outside and white on the inside. That's
and I'm I'm saying no. That's not the thing. We, we can oppose British without lying about our history.
Yeah.
We can see to oppose British. We do not need to create fake narratives. We
Yeah,
just need to stick
and
to our
CRT, like you said, it also needs to be goal oriented, right? Like, what are you really going to achieve? Are you really going to get those reparations? No. Are you going to fight a war to take back your so-called looted diamonds and whatnot? No. So I mean, what's the
yeah
point?
yeah no, but they think that you are bringing down the morale of your fellow citizens, fellow
Yeah.
Indians. So this is the contempt we are held in, that we are the black pillars. Oh,
Yeah. But
you
essentially, the
तुम्हारा
only thing which you're saying is that don't keep making excuses. You have to go to a point where you stop making excuses and have a hard look and say, okay, we actually messed up quite a bit, right? And our
yeah
civilization, a lot of it is our fault, the way we have ended up.
yeah see
Take responsibility, right?
it's about collective responsibility and
Yeah, which no
uh,
one here wants to take. I mean, sadly, any caste, any group.
this is not the apology of British, because if you want to oppose British, do not oppose it on economic grounds, because if you go into that territory, Brits have lot of arguments they can make from their own side, and if you
Huh.
stand purely on economic ground, Brits will prove you wrong, and Brits will in fact Brits can make a strong claim that they were good for India because they brought this and that kind of development, they brought railways, they brought dams, etc. मैं कह रहा हूँ कि आप इकोनॉमिक आर्ग्यूमेंट पे मत जाइए, क्योंकि क्योंकि खतरा नंबर वन, आप ब्रिट्स को ही सही साबित कर देंगे इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ पे अगर आप अपना क्लेम कंटेस्ट करेंगे. दूसरा ये कि अगर आप उनके इकोनॉमिक फैक्ट्स को नहीं मानेंगे तो आप अपने ही लोगों को शॉर्डी इकोनॉमिक सिखाएंगे, एंड दैट्स नॉट ए गुड थिंग टू डू. कि आप सिर्फ एक आर्ग्यूमेंट जीतने के लिए अपनी ही फ्यूचर जनरेशन को गलत एजुकेशन दे रहे हो.
And
ठीक है ना?
CRT, that thing is also there. That's a slippery slope, right? Like you start from this कि हमसे इतना लूटा उतना लूटा, and then you end up with these kind of arguments being made कि the steam engine was actually invented in India and the British stole it, and the entire industrial revolution was funded by us, and all that kind of stuff, and then it just devolves into such lazy logical reasoning that no one's going to take you seriously, and at the end of the day you're going to make a fool out of yourself and not achieve anything at all.
Yeah, you can oppose British on purely humanitarian grounds. British rule was wrong because
Yeah, it was
British,
vicious, no doubt.
because it was wrong. Simple सी बात है. Now it doesn't matter if they develop India, even if they developed India, who asked them to develop
Yeah,
us?
that's on the dead
Who
bodies of
invited?
millions of local people, right?
They
That's enough.
dropped 150 tons of bomb on our ground. Like, who asked? And most people don't even know this, that British airdropped bombs on us.
Yeah,
Most people don't know that.
yeah.
150 ton of bomb was tested in India around 1924 or 25, something like that. So, and then there is whole opium farming and
Yeah. Basically
all of
turning
that.
us into an opium production farm to
Yeah.
import, to export all this to China and get revenue that way. I mean, those are fair criticisms, right? But
Yes.
saying that the Brits looted this much money, that much money, X amount, and used it to set up factories, and that's how they got rich. I mean, it's quite absurd, and economically it's just so simplistic that no one who's studied even a little bit of economics is going to take that as a serious argument.
यस एंड अगर आप इंटरनेट पे कन्विंस करने की कोशिश करोगे किसी को कि भाई ये आर्ग्यूमेंट आपके इंटरनेट पे चलते हैं, सीरियस डिस्कशंस पे नहीं चलते हैं, दे वर लाइक हाउ मेनी आर सीरियस पीपल, हाउ मेनी आर एजुकेटेड, दे थिंक इट्स ऑल अबाउट स्ट्रेंथ इन नंबर्स, And if it's all about strength in numbers, then go fight a war. If it's all about
Yeah.
strength.
Yeah. So I think we can probably just kind of try and return to the caste kanging subject. This is kind of going towards a more holistic overall thing. But coming back to the caste kanging thing, CRT, like what are some of the more recent like examples which you felt really went overboard and didn't really achieve anything except for starting off meaningless fights online?
Yeah, there was this. The biggest example recently is that of Raja Mihir Bhoj, Gurjar
Yeah.
Pratihar, and that shit really led to a huge controversy in
I
UP.
think it's getting some government support also, no? That new narrative.
Yeah, they built a museum around it,
Yeah.
and in that museum they have labeled him as a
Non-Rajput
Gurjar.
Gujjar ruler.
Yeah, as a in that museum, it's a totally a BJP backed project, that museum, and there
Yeah,
they
and it's
have labeled
every
him.
party, including the BJP, including Congress, every party is doing it. It's
Yeah,
not
but
even that right-wing parties are, so-called right-wing parties are, averse to this kind of politics.
no, but Congress has not been that innovative in this project, because
Yeah,
Congress was more like, oh, you are so oppressed, you are
yeah.
backward,
More of
this
like
and that.
just talk, just old socialist talk,
Yeah,
not so much on the
but
ground.
yeah, but BJP took it to this. Oh no,
Actually
you
took it
are
very
not.
literally.
Yeah, but BJP is doing other thing. BJP is like, oh no, you were the emperors, you were the
Yeah.
Kshatriyas, you were
Yeah,
revolutionaries.
if you vote for Kamal, you are the real Kshatriyas, of
Yes,
course.
so, and it would be somewhat acceptable to our side if BJP was doing this purely as a lip service.
Hmm.
But on one hand, they they give this like, you were Kshatriyas,
Hmm.
but also you are backward, and here take these gifts. So
Yeah,
like,
you were oppressed and
what?
you were shining stars at the same time.
So this is a very self-contradicting thing. But who cares?
Yeah, I
Nobody.
think the number one rule is should be that if you're going to claim to be oppressed, then at the same time don't go around telling people that you ruled this and that and won the stars or whatever. I think that should be like a very basic fundamental understanding that you can't like lie so obviously. I know no one's gonna listen, but like,
Yes, but but it's really surprising thing that even they don't notice. They are not self-aware about the contradiction in their own narrative.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, politicians, of course, know they are lying, but their followers are very
Gullible.
surprising
Yeah.
bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they don't see that those two things cannot happen together. That you can't be this oppressed tribe of weak, submissive people and at the same time be ruling half the country. Those two narratives can't, of course, they can't work together.
So it's a really strange phenomena, and similar thing has gone down in South too. Although
Not to this extent, you'd say, or more than this.
there are plenty of landlord castes in South,
Acha,
which
right,
are
right. Who are
which
classified
are,
as backward and
yes, and they they are so they have made money out of this oppre- oppression narrative,
yeah, but I think those
and
guys they know what they're doing. I think
yeah,
they're smart enough to
they are smart enough to know what they are doing,
yeah,
and
basically paint all the Brahmins as the apex caste predators, and we were all innocent. And at the same time, we were the kings and the lords, so you better respect us.
Yeah, Tamil Nadu is still having, I think, one of the highest lynching rates of lower caste people in
Yeah,
India.
yeah. SC
And
versus OBC clashes.
yes, it's not even clashes because it's a very one-sided conflict.
Yeah, almost like
The,
massacres.
yeah, they just it's almost always one side that wins,
Hmm.
and that's the surprising thing about it. A lot of southern Brahmins recently have taken Bedkarite talking points, and you will
Are you saying from the
notice.
BJP's end or from like all
Uh,
parties generally?
uh, no, southern Brahmins are mostly in BJP camp
Yeah,
only.
yeah.
Uh,
So while being BJP supporters, they are essentially adopting the same thing which they earlier said they
Yes,
would support.
but the 5D chess here is they adopt Ambedkarite talking points to put the OBC caste on a back foot.
Okay,
So,
right.
yeah, they are
Because that's
trying
their
to
competition, right?
they are trying to empower SC/STs for the purpose to balance out the dominance of
Okay, I
OBC
think we
caste.
just unveiled some 56D chess going on.
Yeah, yeah, that's what is happening down south. Well, because southern Dalits are not nearly as violent or capable of violence as northern Dalits are.
Okay.
The hooliganism is not strong among them.
Even the Brahmins that way, like in the north, they generally aren't really seen as completely, pacifist or non-confrontational, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
UP and Bihar and extensions, I think the Brahmins are also seen as a caste which will, like, to the final man, defend their what they see as
yeah,
their rightful claims.
yeah. UP Bihar Brahmins are the only Brahmins who have shown any muscle power,
Huh.
if at all.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
A little bit Rajasthani Brahmins have also shown, but not nearly as much as UP
I think
Bihar
numerically
ones.
also they are not as prominent as Brahmins in UP and Bihar, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
That's
The
another factor.
who-
Because I
in
think in
fact,
UP they are like 12-13% Brahmins, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, around 15 to
Okay.
17%.
If you include even like Tyagis and Bhumiyars and all, right?
Yeah, if we include those people,
Everyone, right?
yeah, we might even reach
20.
17. Yeah, it's possible we might reach that number.
17, 18, 20,
Yeah,
which is a huge like chunk of the population.
yes. Although in Bihar there are numbers a bit lower because Bihar has even more heirs than UP.
Okay,
Bihar's proportion of heirs
right,
is even bigger.
right. So here political domination is more has been more Bihar centric, you would say, like relatively speaking.
Yeah, relatively
Like
speaking,
they've
it
had an
has
easier
been.
time in Bihar, like getting power into their hands than in UP. UP, I think it's been more difficult for them to go around building coalitions, right?
Yeah, in UP, no one has been able to hold power for more than 5 years.
Hmm.
Recently, Yogi has broke
Managed to
that
do
trend.
that, yeah.
Yes, so that's a really historical thing. It, but eh, after every 5 years of Saparaj, there would be a Baspa Raj or a Sangathan Raj, and
Hmm.
uh, so,
CRT, if I were to ask you like a related question, so like about if we specifically talk about like leaders, right? So do you
yes.
so you think it's like within like acceptable limits for let's say Rajputs to go around with the whole yogi, with being proud of yogi and Brahmins similarly doing it for their leaders and all that. Like that's an acceptable level, you'd say. And but where does it get to a point where it becomes like pointless, and you're essentially, not doing anything productive and just living in the past.
See, if you are kanging on yogi,
Huh.
one can't say that you are living in past because yogi is present. But the thing is, even if you are kanging on yogi, you are kanging on somebody else's achievement. It's still, individualistically
Right.
speaking,
Right.
it's still not your achievement.
It's an
Yes,
individual's.
yeah,
But
it's
then
yogi's
that
achievement.
would kind of apply to all examples, right? Like all historical kings and priests and whatnot. So then that
Yes,
would be
but
an overwhelming, I think.
yeah, yes, that's a bit reaching. I mean, they can always say that yogi is safe because we voted for him, so it's a collective achievement.
So it's better to
But
say it that way than say that,
yeah, but then a counterpoint would be that all castes voted for yogi, and you are not
and
majority
maybe,
even,
and maybe
and you
let's
do.
say Brahmins voted in even greater percentage for BJP
Yes,
then, yeah, right. So then
so
it kind of becomes a redundant, circular kind of point.
yeah, so yeah, we can run around with circles like that.
Huh.
A recent terminology that has been going viral in that's in the UP Kshatriya sphere is that of Pakhandi, and it's a euphemism for Brahmins, of course. I mean,
Sorry.
for Brahmins, the
Okay.
Pakhandi euphemism is going around these days.
Okay, calling
So
them fake and all.
yeah, whenever they praise yogi for, so it's like reclaiming the priestly heritage,
Right.
like
Okay,
that.
which was taken by the Brahmins in that narrative.
Yeah. There's that yogi is doing the, I mean, priestly duties right.
Right.
That's the claim that is being put forward these days. So it goes on and on.
I
Wait a
think
minute.
the essential problem that I see is that, the way that I see it, where it becomes too far-reaching and really counterproductive, is when this historical narrative reframing, as you said, takes place, and you take all the glory for your own caste, and all the problems, all the defeats are given to everyone else, right? And I'm sure,
Yes.
like all major, even Savan castes are guilty of doing this at some point or the other, where Brahmin might say that, look, we did our best, it's these Rajputs, they don't know how to fight, and it's because of them we were conquered and such stuff. And then the Rajput might say that actually, we could have maintained Hindu sovereignty, but it's these damn Brahmins, they didn't, let us do Ghar Wapsi of these converts, and because of that we eventually lost. So everyone has their, points and counterpoints and saying that we were perfect, and, look at these guys, it's all because of them, right? I think that's where I kind of don't, I personally find it distasteful. It's really, creating problems out of thin air, creating divisions
Yeah.
out of thin air.
Yes. Give me a second.
Do you want to wrap up? Like, I think it's become like a fairly long episode, so maybe we can continue this discussion in some other part or like something like that. So if you have any closing remarks, I think we can probably end with that, like from your end.
Yeah, I think there's this whole accusation about, I mean, this Rajputs and their daughters being married off, and that is a huge talking point that is repeated day in day and night.
Basically in these caste fights,
And I wanted to discuss that, but if we open that topic, it's like
it's a Pandora's box.
Yeah, that's a Pandora's box. So I think either we have to skip that or we have to leave it for some next.
But I think
session.
we can like kind of agree that it's really like below the belt to rely on those kind of talking points.
Yeah, of course, it's
attack another caste, right?
It's
like,
not just it's not just below the belt, but it's
factually
it's a
wrong. It's a mischaracterization.
It's unfair.
Yeah,
It's
it's an unfair.
unfair
Yeah.
because it leaves out
Right.
too many other castes which were collaborators with
Yeah.
Islamic invaders
Yeah.
in their own way.
Right.
You know, and I mean
Absolutely.
there was marital relations established by other castes too.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
but
I think even
there,
from the other end, it was also that the Turks also had this sort of tradition of, sealing alliances by giving their daughters, right, at some points with certain groups, if I'm not
yes,
wrong. Yeah. Of course, Islam creates a prohibition on that, but even the Turks till a certain point in time weren't so Islamized to become that orthodox, I believe.
it's not about if they were Islamized or not. It's that elite Muslims have never cared about religious injunctions.
Yeah,
They
that's also,
they have they have always been more real political
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
being religiously zealous.
yeah,
The religious zeal has always been a Muslim clerisy thing.
yeah. And we can kind of
Now-
see that with the modern Muslim elites also, the way they intermarry into other elites and stuff. I
Yes,
think
even
Jinnah
today
is a
it's-
recent example, his daughter, and a lot of other examples as well.
People or see about the fact that Saif Ali Khan has married a Hindu woman, but they ignore the fact that Saif's sister has married a Hindu guy.
Yeah,
They ignore that fact.
yeah.
It's-
It goes both ways essentially.
Yes. So
I think CRT we can actually probably
yeah, we should
have
wrap up.
Yeah, we can wrap this up. We can
We have-
discuss.
we need to have a part
specific-
2.
Yeah, we need to have a part 2. We can have a closer look at some of these topics, especially the more controversial Pandora's box type of stuff. So thanks a lot, man. Thank you for your time. I'll
Yeah,
just
thanks for
close the
having me.
recording. Yeah, it was great having you. Great having you.